Welcome to the Winning with Shopify podcast. This is the podcast to help you scale your Shopify store into a money-making machine. This episode is brought to you by Retention.com. Retention.com helps Shopify stores make more money by growing their email lists 20 times faster and sending 10 to 15 times more abandoned cart emails. Want to learn more? Check out Retention.com. Book a demo to get 2 times more audience credits for the first 60 days. Now, over to your host, Nick Truman.
Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Winning with Shopify podcast. For anyone that's not tuned in before, my name's Nick. I've been running the podcast for 2.5 years. This is my third Christmas on the show as well. And as you can probably see by the date, it is now December and we are heading into Christmas. Peak is here, Christmas time is around the corner, and next year it could potentially be terrifying. So we're going to be covering some of those topics over the next few months. The other thing to flag quickly as well is if you are a new subscriber or new listener, hit the subscribe button, become a subscriber. We post every Friday and we've got some phenomenal guests coming on the show as well, and a few amazing topics we'll be talking about over the next few months. Today, as you probably saw on the title, you're missing a lot of revenue. There's a lot we can do about that, and it's through lifetime value, and it's about client retention. I've got a very special guest with me here today. His name is Adam Robinson. Adam is the co-founder of our newest sponsor, Retention.com. So Adam, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here, and Merry Christmas, and hopefully next year isn't that terrifying for everybody.
It is indeed. Well, Black Friday's happened now, so it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all gone. We are now into Christmas, which is very exciting. But
how do you think it went for everybody? By the way, I think there were a lot of fears going into it, but like I haven't actually spoken to any of our customers since Friday. I've been drowning in family stuff. So
we've been the opposite. I've not had a single quiet customer this year, which has been interesting. And a bit of context, we're all in our own little micro universe. So I'm only talking about the customers we've got, and there's a level of chance and pitching and all the rest of it. But the ones we've got have been more engaged this year than I've ever seen in my career. I've been doing this 15 years, and in 15 years, I've never seen them so engaged. In Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we've just been pumping budgets. They've been checking ROI at sort of 6 a.m. in the morning and going, yesterday was amazing. We did double our ROI target, double the budget today. Let's see if it goes up by $1, we've made more money. So it's been an interesting year so far. It's been very different and very almost more aggressive than normal. And even clients who haven't been doing Black Friday deals have certainly seen an uptick as well. But what have you seen at your end before we dive into lifetime value? But
as you can imagine, just the nature of our product, people are just dying to get it implemented before Black Friday in general. So last week was huge. The week before was big. It will probably be the same leading up all into the holidays, and then the first couple weeks of January, it kind of slows down, and then people are like, "Oh, we need to be doing this for 2023." So I'm just curious about the general. So, do you think that was because people are like the relative importance of Black Friday due to sort of it seemed like a lull in customer demand going into it? People are like, "I got to hit it out of the park."
I think it's exactly that. I think everybody's predicting, as you just said, this massive lull going into Christmas, of Christmas, into New Year. And I think January and February are probably the most terrifying months I've seen in a long time. So, bar sort of lockdowns. When governments announced we're going to lockdown, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm terrified." Followed by a week later going, "Oh my gosh, look at all my sales!" Everybody's buying online because the shops are shut. But I think everybody's terrified of that. That slump we're definitely going to have into the new year. And obviously we're based over here in Europe as well. So right now we've got, you guys have got loads of problems out in the US and Canada as well, but we've got other problems with a war going on at the moment. So gas and electricity are scary things, and how we're going to pay for that as well. But we've not seen a slowdown in the UK economy yet in terms of retail spend. So we're seeing people spend less on groceries and that sort of thing, but certainly on luxury items. Black Friday has been pumping this year. And I'm expecting to see tons of stats coming out, across the boards. One of my favorite stats, we had Shopify on the show a couple of years back when we did a sort of wash up at the end of the year. And they said that Black Friday in the UK, they had a 100% uptime on the servers. So nothing went down on Shopify in the UK at all. And I'm pretty sure the same statistic came out of the US as well. Plus there was more revenue in the UK, which I don't think happened in the US, but more revenue in the UK on Shopify than there was on Amazon. First year that's happened. Wow. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues. I didn't actually check the stats last year, but it'll be interesting to see if it happens this year as well. But yeah, things are changing. It is, use a Star Wars quote, it's the Rebel Alliance taking over, I think. So yeah, very exciting.
Amazing.
Cool. Anyway, Azam, I always ask guests initially, and we've gone on a tangent already, which is great. I always ask guests initially, tell us about yourself, Adam, and tell us then about retention.com as well. You know, what's your background? How did you get into this? And what does retention do?
Yeah. So I'm kind of an email guy at this point. I started my first startup 10 years ago. It was an email app like Klaviyo, which everybody knows, but it was a much smaller one and sort of served a different market. But that's what it did. It helped people compile and distribute and sort of automate newsletters. And before that, I was actually a credit default swap trader at Lehman Brothers for 10 years, which,
oh, wow.
I was like in the middle, they made a movie about that job. It was The Big Short. So my roommates in New York, when I moved there in 2003, started Vimeo, the video sharing website, in my apartment. So like the whole time I was a trader, I just like wanted to be a tech guy. And then somehow I fell into this email space. The email space is really difficult. Klaviyo's done an incredible job, but there's like, I don't know if people probably don't realize this. There's like 100 small vendors and then like MailChimp and Klaviyo and like a couple other big ones. It's very difficult to compete. It's a very mature space. Everyone's trying to sell the same thing. All the channels are bid up, and it's really the sort of acquisition cost versus LTV metrics don't really work because the big guys just keep everybody out. So that was my first startup. It was a fine lifestyle business. I was able to sell it when I realized that this one was going to be much better. But the whole time I was in that space, I was trying to figure out things that MailChimp wasn't doing, and I came across this identity space, which is just fascinating to me. Like the idea that the first product that we made, which is all we sold until 6 months ago, it allows you to resolve an anonymous website visitor who doesn't fill out a form and doesn't buy anything to a deliverable email address. That to me, like I literally I do this is all I do. I still think that is magic. Like the first time I heard about it, I was like, if I could do that, I could literally sell this to anyone. Anyone with a website, So from the second I heard about it, it took me 18 months to figure out how to actually do it. Another about 6 months to sort of build it into our first product. And then the interesting thing was people were signing up for the email app. They were using the identity product, downloading the file, putting it into Klaviyo, and giving it like a 10 NPS score. Wow. Right? So it's just an indicator that if you're willing to endure such a brutal user experience and still say the product is awesome, we couldn't get anyone to switch over to the ESP. It was something that no one else was doing. I was like, oh, this is it. Finally, I'll be able to grow this thing, past just this whatever. And then we sort of spun it out and connected it to everything and found this Shopify space and, started building more useful products than just that for Shopify stores. And now it's so much fun. It's providing so much value to these Shopify merchants.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember when I first heard about it, I'll be honest, my gut reaction was like, okay, so someone's put their email address in a form to buy a product in the cart. They've not clicked next, but you're going to email them. And I was like, surely that's illegal, absolutely illegal. And it's like,
right,
the way the laws have changed have backed it up actually and said, like, no, it's legitimate interest. You got to the point where you were starting to put your details in to purchase this product. You are legitimately interested in this product. So there's a legitimate reason why someone can email you and say, oh no. And the initial emails as well. And I think this was a bit of a loophole in the law before GDPR came out here in Europe and sort of made it way across the pond. But there was also that loophole as well that said that I think it was like, if you email them and say, oh, there might have been a technical problem, you were trying to buy something and there's a reason you've not bought it, give us a call or go back on the website and we'll give you a 5% off if you can get the cart to work. As you say, it's a clunky journey. And that was almost like a loophole initially that I read about. I read about it quite recently. It was quite a new thing I discovered. But yeah, it baffled me that was legal, that you could basically just email anyone at any time, but like, you're interested, come buy this thing.
It's very... There's two things to say about the comment you just made. The most important one is that it is not, and you said this, it is not legal to do in Europe or the UK or Canada. It is only we only serve the US. The IPs are ring fenced. Every email address is matched to a US postal address. Like it is a US only product. In the US, it is legal to do this. But the US market is huge, thankfully. And we don't really need to do any other markets besides the US. The other thing that is worth commenting on is this is not just when people start filling their name out on a form. Like somebody can hit your website, do nothing, leave, and we can like tell you who that was, and you can start emailing them. It's incredible.
Yeah.
You know, the bottom of the funnel stuff, which you were talking about, that's actually the sort of clearest ROI, obviously, right? They convert higher than anything else. But the underlying technology, this identity thing, I mean, it's amazing. It just allows you to, you know, who doesn't want, you're paying so much money to drive traffic to your website,
Absolutely.
right? Like, how could you not want to capture as much addressable audience and own that forever as possible at the right price? I mean, the answer is you just would, right? Like,
absolutely.
you have to. So.
Yeah. I think it's certainly an interesting model, and fortunately, most of our listeners are based in the US. The UK is growing, might I add, and I'm gonna claim that's my accent that's starting to change stuff. But I think the exciting thing that you just mentioned that I think would be worth talking about this for a second as well is we talk a lot on the podcast, and all our regular listeners will know this. I certainly bring it up a lot where we talk about the expense of acquiring a customer. And then if you look at the conversion rate and go, okay, it's costing me what, I don't know, $50, maybe even $100 to acquire a new customer, and they might not even be spending that on their first visit. And we'll talk about building that lifetime value in a minute and what we can do with email and that sort of thing. But certainly on that initial visit, if you have a conversion rate of 1%, there's 99 out of every 100 doing nothing. So to be able to capture that information is absolutely vital. What are some of the things you guys do next then? Or you recommend to your merchants to do next? They've got that information. These are the 99 who didn't buy a product, didn't sign up to a newsletter. What are some of the things you should do without just appearing completely creepy? You know, and that is always the danger of...
So, I mean, look, generally when someone hears what we do, you just hit on a couple of the reactions. It's like, the three questions are like, how is that legal? And the answer is, in Europe it's not, in Canada it's not, in the US it just is. And then it's like, I think another way of saying, is it creepy, is like, well, what do I actually send these people? Right? And then there's the how does it work, which, you know, I can reference. We don't need to spend time on that. But the one sentence for how does it works is like, we're using anonymous ad tech, like banner ad identifiers, and we're connecting them to people's profiles. But going back to what do I send to not sound creepy?
Yeah.
So if you can break what we do into basically two products with respect to this identity stuff and sort of expanding these abandonment audience. Number one is when a new visitor comes to your site and they leave without doing anything. How do you start a conversation with them without, as you said, sounding creepy? We have thousands and thousands of Shopify stores who have done this. I'm just telling you what the data says. So if you just copy your welcome series and you change the subject line to thank you for stopping by the site, and you leave everything else in that welcome series the same, it will work as well as your welcome series does.
Nice.
It's baffling, but like, that's what happens. And the data is there to show you, like, the complaints are low, the unsubscribes are not offensive, the open rates are unbelievably high, literally like 50, 60% or whatever. So that seems like it might be a creepy thing, but my view is, I mean, I can just tell you what the data is. That's the only way you can possibly evaluate email. It's not pissing people off any more than normal email marketing is. I think people just get so many emails these days that it's getting to them 15 minutes after they were on the website. If you like accumulated a list, waited 2 weeks and blasted it, if people didn't remember the brand, which, we used to allow people to do that. We no longer allow that. We make you set up in a certain way. I could see that being an infuriating event, but like getting an email 15 minutes after you are on somebody's website is like not something that in today's world is, So that's kind of product number one. And then product number two are these sort of like cart abandonment, product abandonment, category abandonment. It's not just somebody hitting your website for the first time. It's like they took way down the funnel behavioral action and then they abandon. So those emails, I mean, if you didn't give someone your email, like a retailer, if the customer didn't provide the retailer their email, but they got a cart abandonment email because they put something in their cart, I think most people would not even realize that they hadn't given their email at that point. Like, like you are way down the funnel if you put something in the cart. So those I don't think those creep people out at all.
No.
I mean, I just know by the data, but so yeah, I mean, that's kind of how you do it. It's like you leave the when it comes to actually technically setting up the cart abandonment, like you just fork the flow, and then we send all, anybody that we can identify that's not on your list, we send them to one side of the flow. All the rest of them get sent to the other side, which was the old one. It's pretty straightforward. You don't really have to change much.
Yeah. I think it's really useful because certainly the second one, as you say, like they're already engaged. They've looked at products, they put something in their cart. And I don't know about you, there's no way I would click and add something to my cart unless I was interested in it.
So by the way,
yeah,
the shocking statistic about this is that, well, it's a fact and a statistic. The fact is, Klaviyo is not sending an abandonment communication to people who are not logged in to your Shopify site, which most people do not realize. You have to be authenticated somehow to get that behavior tied to your email address. The only way you can get authenticated is by buying something or opting in or logging in. Think about everybody who's not logged into your Shopify site right now that's on it, right? It's not only people that are not on your opt-in list in general, which is almost everyone who's on your site, right? And easily 80% of people who are abandoning cart are just not on your list yet.
Yeah.
It's also someone who bought something on their desktop or their laptop and they're looking on the tube on the way home or whatever, right? They're not getting these messages.
Quite simply
and it's
cleared
criminal
cookies.
Because, what's that?
Yeah. I said, they've just cleared cookies. So the site now doesn't recognize
Exactly, so that's the third
so
thing. So it's only about 10% of the actual abandoning audience that is getting these communications, which is like, to me, it's the saddest thing in the world. This is the easiest lift in the world. It takes an hour to set up, and you'll get out 5 times more of these super low in the funnel communications to people who are dying to buy your product. They just didn't get to the buy button yet. Right?
Absolutely. And I think that, again, bringing it back to marketing, the amount of money you can pay per click, like we've got stores that are paying $10, $20 every time somebody clicks on an advert on Google. That's you mentioned it already. That's the competitiveness.
That to me, like I hear that, I'm just like, it makes me feel so much better about what I sell. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Like I'm getting you the same click for like 10 cents. Like I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, it's like it's hooking in all of that non-conversion, we can call it. That 99% of people that haven't done anything, or even if you get your site up to 5% conversion rate, I'm not going to set benchmarks. 5% generally is quite healthy. It's all very relative. But even there's 95 out of 100 not doing anything, and you're sending them little emails. And the actual email content, I assume you can put in like little discounts and say, thanks for stopping by our site today. Actually, we're offering you this discount code if you do buy it before midnight. Yeah, because it's Shopify, you can set up a discount code automatically. It's like, I now, you run home and go, honey, I've seen this product. They've just offered me 10, 15% off if I buy it today. We've got to buy this thing. And, we mentioned Black Friday. My wife and I are moving at the moment. So on Black Friday, we were all over it. I was desperate for emails over Black Friday going like, here's a new TV cabinet. Here's a dining room table. I'm like, I'll buy all of it. We need everything. So, let's go for it.
I mean, that's exactly what you do. You nailed it.
Nice. And I mean, look, some people who are listening in, they're going to be like, okay, Adam, Nick, you completely lost me now. I have no idea what's going on. Let's run back to the big question. And the big question is, I think everybody knows what lifetime value is, as opposed to I've bought one product and that was $100. Lifetime value says if I've bought 5 of those now over 5 transactions or 2 or 3 transactions, my lifetime value is now $500. Why is lifetime value important? I know it might sound really obvious to you and I, Adam, but why should people care about this stuff? Why shouldn't people just go, well, look, my Google ads is profitable and my Facebook ads are profitable, so I'm just going to keep them running?
Well, so is it wrong to say that lifetime value is the single most important thing in any direct consumer business? I know it's the most important thing in software as a service business, but it allows you to pay more to acquire more customers, which at the end of the day is what allows you to grow and do everything else. And there's all sorts of statistics around this that like once somebody's giving you $1, it's like they're 95% more likely to give you $1 than someone who hasn't, right? So it's easier to increase lifetime value in general than it is to acquire new customers, especially in this weird environment now where Apple's screwing Facebook and cost of and personally I think there's this fundamental thing going on where there's a finite amount of eyeballs looking at these social media platforms buying things, and there are more and more direct consumer e-commerce companies trying to buy those eyeballs. And you have to get better and better at running these ads, and it just gets more expensive or whatever. The other way to do it is to just, when you acquire a customer, get them to pay you more over time, right? Like, so this notion of increasing your lifetime value is incredibly important. And that is what retention is effectively, right? It's like there is acquiring customers and there is retaining customers. And there are a bunch of different ways to retain customers in direct consumer e-commerce. Just to rattle off the list, right? You can do subscriptions, the boxes or whatever. You can do loyalty. You can do referral programs. You can overhaul your customer support. You can overhaul your shipping policy. You can overhaul your returns policy. You can create a great cause or a community. But when it comes down to it, your email marketing program is bread and butter, and it's just marketing. It takes 7 brand impressions to make a conversion, and if you stay top of mind, like they'll keep buying from you. And SMS, like they'll just open that every single time that you send. So those two things, email and SMS, and owning your audience, are getting very good at that, and optimizing around that are so much easier than any of these other things, in my opinion. And specifically, another thing that just I see, because we sell to Shopify stores almost exclusively, there's this interesting thing going on where we talked about cart abandonment emails earlier. Klaviyo, which has almost 100% market share for this audience that we're talking about, they require you to set up a checkout abandonment when you create an account. So meaning if someone gets the checkout page and they leave, then it triggers a message.
You have to set it up.
You have to set it up. They call that a cart abandonment. That's not actually what I call a cart abandonment. I call a cart abandonment when someone puts something in the cart and they leave. So a lot of retail stores don't even realize that they don't have what I just explained as a cart abandonment set up, because Klaviyo calls it something else, cart abandonment, which is way less audience. So my whole thing about retention is the easiest thing to do is to set, like I am telling you as someone who just is in this world, the more emails that you can have sending out when people leave your website, the second they leave, personalized with the products they were looking at or whatever, the more of those you can have go out, and they're very easy to set up with Klaviyo. That's one of the reasons why Klaviyo killed it so hard. The more money you will make. Like, you will just watch them print money. It's so much better to have 7 of these different flows going out than to send 2 newsletters a day, right? Like, just because they're so timely, they are so personalized, and they're so easy to measure the ROI. Like, it's just all right there in front of you. So my message, my evangelistic message is, just do yourself a favor. Log into your Shopify. Make sure you at least have a cart abandonment email set up and not just a checkout. So easy, right?
I guess one thing you could call, sorry to interrupt, I was just going to say, one thing you could call the Klaviyo model, I've always known it as cart abandonment. That's why we've got you on to come and tell us, what cart abandonment is. Yours is everyone who's abandoned a cart, as opposed to Klaviyo is everyone who's abandoned a cart but has submitted an email or logged in, which suddenly, as you say, draws them down to such a small percentage.
Yes, this is exactly my point.
Yeah,
and even if you don't use our product, and you just set up cart abandonment and product abandonment in Klaviyo, you will be blown away at how effective those 2 flows are. They're incredible. Like, even if you don't use identity to expand the audience,
Yeah. And going back to making money, the beauty of that, as we keep saying, you spend so much on marketing and you're going to get more from this now. You're going to have more sales, which generate more customers. And then we're going to come on to long-term lifetime value in a minute as well. The only other thing I would add to your list of, these are all the things that you need to make more money. The only other thing I would add, and this is the caveat, I personally find the hardest with the amount of inquiries we get in through Shopify and through the podcast, as in stores that want our help. So many of them just don't have a good product. And I say it really lightly because what I don't want to do is, I obviously run this podcast and I don't want people to unsubscribe from this, but the product is so important. And what it does is, the better the product is, and when I say better, it's like you've got the right product for the right audience at the right time, right price. You know, you've thought this out really, really well, and you've looked at your data and modified these things to go, people can't afford our product, or actually they would spend more if we added more. That's what we need to. Once you're starting to run down that journey, all this stuff starts to work even harder. Because as you say, Adam, if you then put something in front of somebody to say, like, you were on our site earlier, thanks for stopping by, here's a discount code, or here's a reason to come back, or here's a reason you should buy from us soon. You know, there's only 5 of these products left. No discount, but there's only 5 left. Things like that. It starts to become so much more effective because it's a good product in front of the right person. So there's definitely other elements in this sort of chain of dominoes we're talking about. You're talking about adding more dominoes to it, which is great. But there's definitely in this chain of dominoes, like, you know, it's the right product for the right audience, the right advert, the right targeting on that advert, bring them to the site in the right time. And then it's a sort of, I kind of like this, but I'm not going to buy it right now. And then they leave and forget about it. You stop them forgetting about it and you bring them back quickly and give them a reason to come back. And I think that's the big killer thing, is we've had so many clients ask us over the years, 95% of my site traffic's disappeared and gone. And we're like, no, 5% is really, really good. You're talking about changing the game on that, which I think is incredibly exciting. But that product is so important. And it's not just one product, of course, it's your whole range.
Yes, I agree. Like 1,000,000%. The thing that so in the software business, Y Combinator is like this incubator that Airbnb and Brex, you know, a lot of these big, you know, companies went to. They have this incredible blog that talks about how you start a startup, and product market fit gets like 2/3 of the entire blog. You know, just talking about what it means and what it is, and like how you can recognize signs of it. And quite frankly, my first startup didn't really have it because, I mean, it had the features that everybody else had, but like the time wasn't right, and the market, it was just wasn't. And like this, my current startup does, and it's really hard to appreciate what that feels like. You know, when your product is actually good enough, it's hard to, if you haven't been there yet, because I mean, there's just so much psychology behind being an entrepreneur and just wanting to continue to push forward and, like, you know, will things into existence or whatever, but. Just once you have a great product, everything else is 1,000 times easier. Yeah. Which is, I think, what you were alluding to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about how difficult it is. I mean, that's why they call it a grind. You know, it's not, there is no kind of slide. You don't go down a slide and there's just money at the bottom. It is a grind. And everything from, I mean, the amount of merchants we've obviously interviewed on this show, and they talk about things like, you know, customer focus groups. What did you like? What did you not like? And everything we're talking about today fits into that as well. I think it would be silly to just say to someone, what do you know, you bought a pair of shoes from us. Do you like those shoes? If you say to them, what do you like about our website? You know, what do you know? And especially if you've got the information there when you're interviewing them, do you know what trigger point it was where you bought from us? And if they say no, you've almost done your job incredibly well, I think. Because then it's like they were focused on the product, they were focused on the marketing, they were focused on the benefit. You know, the features tell, but the benefits, that sells the product. Benefits sell. So what's the benefit to me as a customer buying this product? And then when you say to them, well, look, we sent you an email, we didn't even have your email address, we dropped you an email saying thanks for stopping by with a, you know, in 4 hours we think this product's going to be sold out, and you bought it. And be like, oh, I never knew I did that. I just, you know, I really liked it. I forgot what site it was on, and bam, there was an email. And it's like, great. And it reaffirms the marketing's working. But that a lot of that is, that's the customer acquisition side of stuff. You're starting to build some better lifetime value across the board. But let's talk about lifetime value and retention now. So let's say you get 1,000 new customers in a day. What next? How do you keep those guys engaged, and how do you keep them purchasing from your store?
So
I know it's not going to be a simple one-liner.
You can pay for super expensive clicks on Facebook or whatever, which we talked about earlier.
Yep.
You know, retargeting. You can email. So what you said before is you will convert, the god of conversion will maybe get like, I don't know, 1% of people to buy and then 5% of people to give you an email address. And that is considered incredibly valuable. Why is it valuable to get an email address from somebody? It's because you can then address them for free whenever you want until they tell you to stop, right? It's on you to have engaging content and figure out what the cadence is and the voice and all that stuff. But until our technology, you had been limited to people who would give you their email address. Like we can, for like half of your web traffic, we can basically just get you their email address. So if you believed in the value proposition of, retention through ongoing conversation over a medium that you didn't have to buy clicks over and over again through, then it would make logical sense that you would also really believe in wanting to amplify that audience. I mean, your Klaviyo bill goes up, whatever. It doesn't go up nearly as much as the value that you will be extracting from then owning that audience. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's two things. It's one, you just want to grow the audience of people that you own and are sending these, call it like broadcast, whatever you want to send it to, like whatever you want to call it, like bulk communications daily, 3 times a week, whatever they are, right? Your newsletter. And then way more important for a retail store is enabling this incredible power of Klaviyo to basically send out as many triggered behavioral one-to-one communications as possible on both email and SMS.
Definitely.
They are just magic. Like, flows are everything. And SMS is an incredible vehicle too. Like if you're not collecting SMS from people, I would do that, set up something to where it gets the email first and then, the SMS number, offer them another discount. People who were not doing that and start doing that are just blown away by how well it works. Don't over SMS people, obviously. Like,
can get annoying.
Really careful with that, and you want to.
But
be
it
very
does cut
personal.
through the noise, doesn't it? It's not like an email inbox where you've got so much coming in. It's like the other people who are in that space are not the same people on email. The people in your SMS space are your family, your friends, maybe some of your colleagues, and then suddenly there's and I think SMS for me, we've had a few different SMS companies on over the years. Not one recently, might add, but the thing that's always been a bit of a differentiator for SMS being a success or a failure is the timely aspect of it. Because yes, it's going to cut through the noise, but it's going to cut through it immediately. So don't send an SMS message at 2 a.m. No. Guaranteed unsubscribe. That's the end of you talking to them. But if you, for example, if there's a big sporting event going on in a particular town or city, and you can see which of your customers, again, go back to data, which of those customers are in that area, you might say that, okay, if you order before 5 p.m. on Tuesday, we will deliver this product before the big game at the weekend. Especially if you've learned, as you say, if you've learned with the data, okay, these people are interested in baseball, in soccer, got to get that one in there with the World Cup going on, or in American football. I think if you can learn these things about your audience and go, when we talk about American football, they don't really respond to us, but when we talk about baseball, they do. And especially in this city. Well, now you're starting to get really, really smart, which means you're more relevant to people. But again, it's cutting through the noise at the right time to go, okay, it's 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. If you order by 5 p.m. tonight, this weekend, if you're watching the game, like, the whole city the whole city supports our local team, whatever it is. Get this product, whether it's the latest shirt or it's a, pre-order some food to cook on the evening or a takeaway, whatever. All these things that then start to become associated. And as you say, that's the story, that's the marketing bit, but you cannot deliver that without the tech. I guess one of the big questions I've got about the tech side of things is, you mentioned flows. Surely there's got to be almost like, and it's different for every business, but surely there's got to be a very different flow to someone who hasn't purchased, someone that has put into cart but hasn't purchased, someone that has purchased, or someone that purchased and didn't give an email, or took their email address away, or they've unsubscribed. I saw you guys have got a thing called retention in your features list as well, about where people are dormant. They're not doing anything with the brand. Reactivate, sorry.
Yep.
That's the one.
All good.
Retention's the name of the business. There we go. Yeah. But surely you're going to have different flows for all those different people, aren't you, to tell different stories because they're in a different stage. One's going to be ready like, here's the latest products, choose the one you want and buy it now. Someone else they still need some convincing to give you your credit card details over the first time.
Yeah. So a lot of this comes down to two things. Your total audience size and the amount of resources you have to slice and dice. Mm-hmm. So kind of like what you said earlier with respect to having a good product. That to me is like, if you are not there, it's not worth doing anything else until you get there. Right. And then like when you go down to the situations like you were explaining, one thing popped into my head, like, you're not going to be able to do that with 10,000 people on your list. Like,
true.
If you have like 1 million, you can start slicing them up into like state geos and, the different interests and stuff like that. And you can actually get significant size in your slices of your audience. And then you have to have the staff to like dream up these campaigns and come up with the messaging, So that's why I just, when we're talking to an audience that's more broad, I think, in where they are in their journeys. I just hammer home the flows because those are the basic ones, because those are like almost universally applicable, right? Like everybody should have a checkout, a cart, a product abandonment, a welcome series, and then a price drop, a back in stock, and a low stock. Like those 8 things, maybe not day one, but like within the first 6 months of your e-com store, like that kind of stuff should be set up. And it's universally applicable. Once you get a huge audience and you have resources to get creative, the sky is the limit with, your problem is not what you could do. It's like narrowing down the possibilities to the things that will actually be the most effective, but it all starts with that killer product. Like you're never going to get there unless you have something that your audience is like literally salivating for.
I mean, it's killer product, and as you say, audience size. I think absolutely spot on. If you haven't got anyone to talk to, or within reason, you've only got a small audience. So obviously you guys come in, you help them gain that audience size. So now it's like you've not got 10,000 anymore. We've hit 100,000 fairly quickly. Right. And it's all relative to size of store, but we've now got those guys and now we can talk about them. 2 things you just mentioned, 2 little nuggets I just want to emphasize. Low stock, back in stock. So I know we're talking very strategy today, but those are a couple of the tactics that I think are so spot on. The back in stock one, what I found amazing over Black Friday is there's a product I bought. It doesn't matter what it was, but I bought a product and it said this is currently out of stock. Give us your email address. And to me, my initial reaction was, well, it's not going to be back now. Do I really want it? Because it's not going to be on Black Friday anymore. And then I read the other half of the sentence. That bit was in blue or black or something dark, and the other half was in red. Guaranteed before Cyber Monday. So we know we're getting stock back in. I was like, flipping heck, that is on it. That is marketing powerful. I like. It was on a company in the UK called John Lewis. They're one of the best retailers in the UK. We're very proud of them. They a huge department store here. But it was on their site, and it said, we will have some back in stock before Cyber Monday. Lo and behold, I got an email this morning from them saying, if you purchase before 12 o'clock today, there will be one for you. We're not releasing them to the general public until we've gone through the out-of-stock people, the back-in-stock people. So don't get me wrong, I'm going really advanced here. And again, this is like John Lewis have probably got a good percentage of the population in the UK's email addresses because we've all bought from them. But again, even starting small, just saying to people, give us your emails when it's back in stock, but then having a flow that kicks in immediately. You're not going to wait now until it is back in stock. You're going to say, that green T-shirt you wanted, we have other green T-shirts, or we have other T-shirts in yellow and some other pastel colours similar to the one you were looking for, which is why you need a good engine in the back of your Shopify store for merchandising that goes, I know these products are similar to each other. Almost like you pick any product and it starts making layers of a target around it going, what's the most associated to the least associated? And I think, you mentioned low stock and back in stock. So much you can do with that, but you need the technology to be able to do it first. And as you say, using your example of starting small and growing from there, I love the idea of actually just having a back in stock flow, just one, because you haven't got enough subscribers yet. But then you start making almost like a decision tree of going, well, when we've got enough, we're now going to split them into 2. Split them into 2 where, like, if we know we're getting stock soon, we'll just wait for that, or we'll email them immediately and give them a timer. this is going to be back within a month. So sit tight. We're going to have this for you. And we're going to reserve one for you as well if you want. Click here to reserve it now. And it's, what have you done? You've just done a pre-order. They pay today and you've done a pre-order for them, and then a second flow. And I love that concept of, just starting small and then putting resource into it. And as you said, the best problem to have is like, we've got so many ideas and so many people. Yeah. What a great problem. We now need a team leader to sit there and go, right, these are the campaigns we're going to run. Deploy these, bring me back the stats once they've gone out, and we'll decide what to do next.
Love that. And if you want me to blow your mind even further, so our tech allows you on a back-end stock. So you said John Lewis asked for your email address.
Yeah.
We can build an audience of people who didn't even
I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like this back-end stock is going to go out to like 10 times more people than gave their email addresses, which is the power of identity. John Lewis couldn't do it in the UK, but we can do it here.
Nice. Yep. Nice. Well, look, we'll bring things into land there. I think, so one thing I love about the podcast, and I've said this loads of times before, is I didn't know fully what you guys did because I deliberately didn't look, because I want to find out with the audience to ask the questions I think they're going to ask. If anyone's sitting there listening and they're like, as you say, their mind is completely blown now and they're like, right, retention, that's for me. How can they get in touch? What's the website? How do they start using your tech? How does it all kick off?
Yeah, so it's www.retention.com. I paid a pretty penny for that domain.
I'm sure you did. It's in my notes. Didn't get a chance to ask it, but
yeah, $800,000. $800,000. Yeah.
Wow. I'll let the wife know that tonight.
Yeah, I know.
For $800,000 on a domain.
Yeah, for the people who made it all the way to the end, they got that nugget, which is a whole other episode in itself of how and why I thought that was worth it.
Well, we've got you for a few months, so we will ask that question at some point. Yeah.
Our company was called Get Emails before that.
Nice.
Which was very descriptive for the original product. Anyway, go to retention.com, check it out. I want to qualify this by saying, sort of like the product thing we were talking about, probably if you have less than $1 million annual revenues, it's not going to be worth your time to put all this stuff in place. You've got to have web traffic for us to resolve the web traffic. You need to be converting your emails well to buy emails at any price and continue to do that, right? So 1 to 5, probably going to work for you. Above 5, 5 to 100, it's going to work every time. So
nice.
Go to retention.com, book a demo. We require everybody to go through our sales and onboarding process to make sure they're set up the right way, because, these can be dangerous tools if not used properly, right? Like, that's what you do. If you mention this podcast, we will double your audience credits for the first 60 days. Which is exciting. Nice. If you want to, I post on LinkedIn a bunch. It's linkedin.com/Adam Talks email, or just search Adam Robinson, retention.com. Nice. That's kind of, it's pretty simple. Just go to retention.com.
Lovely stuff. And whatever platform you guys are listening to this on, we'll obviously put some links into that sort of thing. We'll mention mention that you should mention Winning with Shopify as well, if you guys want to get that. As mentioned, Retention are going to be sponsoring the next few months, which we're very excited about. We're still getting some of the content together, but we're going to be talking more about lifetime value and how you build on this stuff. We're going to talk some merchants and all that sort of stuff as well. So make sure you stay tuned. Adam, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Nick.
Great. It's great to have you here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're back again next Friday, and we hope to have you along again soon.